Adding the simplest embeds can make one of your most popular soaps. Today we're making Candy Almond. If you like this recipe, hit the thumbs up button, and as always, if you would like to download the full recipe and watch the step-by-step instruction tutorial, then come on over to our website where you can find this listed at the Thermal Mermaid Learning Library. And don't forget, if you enjoy watching cold process soap making recipes, then hit the subscribe button so you can catch our next video. Today's soap making project looks really simple, but it covers a couple of key topics if you're a cold process soap maker, so pay attention because this one moves very fast. Our base soap is going to be almond, and we're going to throw in some blue chunked up embeds to give a little contrast, and we're going to fragrance this with an almond fragrance oil. Now this fragrance oil is just plain and simple labeled almond from Nature's Garden. This one happens to be my favorite almond, and it does have kind of a sweet candy aroma to it, hence the name Candy Almond. Now the moment we add this into the soap batter, it will begin to accelerate and our trace will thicken up quite quickly. So we don't have too much time to work with this batter if you want to make the almond fragrance. And so that leads us into our design. We're not going to be able to do too much of an exotic drop swirl or add too many colors into this batter. I've done this in the past with this particular fragrance oil and it ends up accelerating too fast and my soaps don't kind of come out the way I want them to if I'm trying to use the almond. So we're going to work around this by preparing some embeds to begin with, keep the design as simple as possible, and give it something that looks very much like one of the luxury soap bars that you would see at your retailer stores. So people will automatically recognize this as a luxury bar, but we're not getting into the exotic designs and swirls that we would if we were really putting a lot of work into the swirl techniques. Now we're not going to spend too much time mixing it with the stick blender. I just want to mix it enough so that it's completely emulsified. Now this recipe uses an oil combination that keeps the oils at a nice bright light color, and usually this is one of my combinations that doesn't come to trace too quickly. But you can already see that I've only been mixing for about a minute and it's already starting to thicken up. So just after a minute, we'll go ahead and pour the very first layer into our mold. As soon as we have that bottom layer, we're going to drop our chunked up embeds right into the bottom. Now these embeds I've pre-prepared the day before using the exact same recipe, and they didn't even need to harden for a full 24 hours. I only waited for them to become sort of a firm, doughy texture. And when we're working with embeds in cold process, sometimes you come across people who discover that their cold process embeds don't stick well in their cold process soap. And one of the ways that we can keep these two pieces of soap from fusing together so that they remain in place is by placing them in while they're still doughy. Now if you have a complicated embed and you really need the definition, if it's something that's going to be decorative, then you may need for it to firm up for the amount of time that it needs for it to harden. But if you're doing what we're doing here, where we just want to get these chunky pieces, then you can simply pour out your embed soap and then wait for it to be firm enough just to cut into the shapes and the sizes that you want, and then go ahead and have that ready for when you make your main project batter. Now, although we're not coloring the main batter, and you see that it's kind of a light yellow color, because of the oils that we've chosen to use, when this lightens up, it's actually going to turn into a nice light almond color. And so that suits fine for this project being named Candy Almond. The blue embeds are made with Blue Lagoon mica, and this color really turned out great because it's the perfect blend of a sky blue that's natural and still colorful at the same time. So it gives us just enough of pretty decoration in this bar without going overboard with popping colors. So we'll keep alternating, dropping our embeds in and then covering it with a layer of the almond soap batter. After only about 2 minutes, this batter is becoming so thick that it's actually becoming more difficult to pour, and so it's perfectly fine to start spooning the layers in as needed so that you don't make a mess everywhere. The only thing is, if it starts to get too thick for you, then you just want to make sure that we're not creating air pockets with all of these little variations in sizes and pieces. And you just want to make sure that you tap that main soap down and push it down well enough so that you're going to fill in any possible air pockets so you get a full bar of soap. And we'll just do this and alternate the soap and the embeds until we've completely come to the top of our mold. It's always interesting to notice that a soap recipe isn't just its combination of oils, because after you do this a few times, you start to notice that you can have the same combination of oils for several types of recipes, and your soap can behave differently and turn out differently depending on the entire recipe itself. So that means that your color additives, your natural ingredients, your fragrance oils, and anything that you might want to add to the lye water solution plays a big role in the entire recipe for your soap project. It's not just about the combination of oils. Now this project looks like it only took 3.5 to 4 minutes to put together, but keep in mind we did prepare our embeds the night before, and also when we know that the batter is going to accelerate really quickly, then we have to have everything prepared and ready to go. So you want to have your table and your workspace set up so that you're ready to work as soon as you pour that fragrance oil. So it's helpful to have your oils combined and your lye water solution made and all of that stuff cooled down, ready to go, and in place. It's not exactly the same as a slow accelerating soap where you can kind of take your time and move around in different steps. When you have something that accelerates and becomes thick this quickly, you want to make sure that all of your steps are going to be in the right order so that you're ready to place everything in a quick, timely manner. And so that means that it takes just as much preparation to do some of these simple designs as it might be to do something a little more complicated. Now we're adding the final layer of our project, and we're going to take these little blue chunky pieces and have them sticking out on top as our topper decoration. Now, if the pieces have gotten too hard, and the internal pieces certainly aren't going to fall apart because they're up inside the soap, but if you feel like these pieces might not adhere to the very top and you want them to stay on top, you can always take an extra step and spritz these little pieces down with rubbing alcohol, which helps cold process soaps stick together when you're working with two different soaps that are at two different stages of firmness. The rubbing alcohol will help keep everything adhered together. And so if you feel like you're a little nervous about that, you can spritz these blue pieces down and then stick them on top as your decoration. All we have left to do is to give it a day to set up and become nice and firm. And after 24 hours, we're ready to cut 3 pounds of oils into 11 bars of Candy Almond soap. And here's our final project, Candy Almond with beautiful Blue Lagoon embeds. Now if you'd like to make this at home, pop on over to thermalmermaid.com and you can find the recipe ready and waiting for you to download. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll be back with the next soap making video for you.